हेलो AnkithsPrep आपका स्वागत है and today we're going to be talking about monopolies. So what is a monopoly? Let me make the font bigger. Okay, so basically a monopoly is a firm that is the sole seller of a product without close substitutes. Okay, so what I mean by that is like basically any company that produces something that no other company makes. Okay, it's like the only company in the market. So examples of this include like Intel. Intel is not exactly a monopoly, but it's a close monopoly because they own like 80% of the chips that you get in your computer. Even College Board is a monopoly. College Board is a monopoly because they're the only company that makes the SAT and like ACT, AP exams, and that's the only place you go for. And the key and one of the main components of a monopoly is its barrier to entry. So like you can't easily get firm, like you can't easily go into the market of a monopoly because there are like barriers of entry, whether it's hard to make what they're making, or there's like a government restriction like a patent. Okay, so let me draw a graph of what a monopoly looks like. So you got this point, you got the P, you got the Q right here, right? Okay, so in perfect competition, the MR, like Mr. DARP, okay, it just meant the marginal revenue is equal to the demand, which is equal to the average revenue, which is equal to the price. But in this one, Mr. DARP, the marginal revenue, it breaks down. It's no longer equal. So like usually in a perfect competition, the MR was like constant like this, right? But in a monopoly, it's downward sloping like this. Okay, so here is the MR. And since it's the only company that makes a certain product, like you can also combine the like both the firm graph and the market graph. So there's also a demand curve. So this is the demand curve right here. This is the demand. It's like that. And it doesn't exactly have a supply curve, but like the marginal revenue point or whatever, marginal revenue point, this, like the marginal cost, yeah, the marginal cost is the one that's used for used in places of supply, because like they're the only ones that are making the supply. So MC is equal to S. Okay. And then after that, and also don't forget there's also like an ATC as well. Like every firm has an ATC. So let's just say and still ATC is always at its lowest point when it hits the MC. So yeah, that's the ATC. Okay, so the profit maximization point, right? It still occurs at MR is equal to MC right here. So like this is the equilibrium quantity, right? So that's like the profit maximization, but like this price that you see right here, that's not the price that that is going to produce that. So they go all the way up. Okay, never mind. Just like forget that. Okay, so they go all the way up to the demand curve, and that is the price where they start making it at. Okay? Like right here. Yeah, so basically that's the profit maximization point. Okay? This is a profit maximization point. Let me change the font. And since you also have the ATC involved, there's also like the profit, right? You also have the profit right here. Profit, right? So that's the profit, and of course if the ATC is above like whatever point they're making at, they operate at a loss, but in this case it's at a profit. So, and see, now there are 2 points. There's a profit maximization point, and there's an optimum, the efficient point, because again, you regard the MC as the supply and the demand. So like supply and demand, that's the equilibrium, that's the most efficient point right here. So then obviously, like just like with taxes, there's a deadweight loss. So yeah, this is I'm just gonna mark the deadweight loss like this. Deadweight loss. Again, you just like if you want to like calculate the profit or like the deadweight loss, it's literally just the area of this thing. It's the same concept, right? So this is the efficient point. This is a profit maximization point. Firms, they always look to maximize their profit, right? So they'll always produce here, even though this is like the most efficient point. So like at the most efficient point, it's cheaper, right? Because it's like right here. This is lower, but companies will always make it like this. So like if it was at its efficient point, then firm would start producing. This will be the money that they'll make, and this is the quantity that they'll make. They'll make a higher quantity and a lesser price. Okay, so yeah. Key points to remember here is that the MR breaks down, and this is and I already showed you right here. This is the profit maximization point. Okay, then another thing, if the MR is greater than the MC, profit increases by making more output, like more stuff or whatever they make. If MC is greater than LR, profit increases by making less output. Okay, so that is basically what that is. So okay. So now that's like a normal monopoly. There's another kind of monopoly called a natural monopoly. It's like stuff that it's kind of like the water, the stuff that's in limited numbers, right? So it's like the water company. So like an example of this is like the Detroit Water Company, because like they're the only people in the area that supplies the whole area with water. So like they have a monopoly in that case. In that case, the MC is equal to, it's like horizontal, right? So MC is equal to S. Let me make the font bigger. The MC is equal to S. And since like it's there, the ATC, right? Instead of doing like this, like it'll just be like forever sloping down like this. It'll just be like it's just gonna like slope down. Average total cost is always gonna decrease. The ATC runs like this, and of course the MR and MC stuff is there. So there's like the MR and the demand thing. MR and D. So yeah, so like remember, there's always a deadweight loss because if companies produce at like the max point, right, at the profit max point rather than the efficient point. So so like let's suppose this the Detroit Water Company wants to like start producing at a at a profit where profit is more. So they'll produce right where MR is equal to MC, right at the demand. They're gonna produce this much and right here. But the optimum point is right here, right? Right over here. But if they produce at the optimum level, they're gonna hit a loss, cause see, cause it's below the ATC. But here they're gonna make a profit, cause it's above the ATC. So like they'll rather like produce here because they want to profit. But like sometimes the government might intervene because they're gonna be like, this is unfair, you're charging high prices for stuff, so they'll kind of like impose a price ceiling, so they'll produce at this price. But then if they produce at this price, they'll have a loss. So they might shut down. So to prevent that from happening, the government might provide them a subsidy. Like, subsidy is like an opposite of a tax. The government gives you money for running. So that's the subsidy. Okay, and the last thing. Okay, so I talked about how there's a deadweight loss right here, right? Like you can you can actually decrease the deadweight loss like if they practice price discrimination. So like if they give some customers like the same stuff at a cheaper price, they can like kind of like turn this area into a profit. So like people on this side of the demand curve, if they sell something for less money, then they'll be able to like fill this area with profit. So like stuff that like like how airline tickets cost like different prices, like depending on the time of day or whatever. Like they're not always the same. Then there's like scholarships, and then there's certain discounts uh, at amusement parks, kids. The price for kids is lower. Maybe like at a movie theater, the price for senior citizens or veterans is higher. So that's it. So, anyways, thank you for the first episode, YouTube episode of Ankith's Prep. If you like this video, please subscribe. Yeah, that is all. Wait, no, that is not all. How do I read this? It is not how you write it. Yep, bye.